Summary of the Lowland by Jhumpa Lahiri. In Calcutta, India, in the 1960s, brothers Subash and Udyan Mitra are growing up. Their neighborhood, Taligang, is full of refugees whose lives were uprooted by the 1947 partition of India. However, the boys live in a simple middle-class house on the edge of a piece of land with 2 ponds. There is a low area between the 2 ponds that floods when it rains. The boys are only 1 year apart in age, but they are always together. His younger, more reckless brother Udyan often gets his bigger, more cautious brother Subash into trouble. As soon as the boys start college and go to different schools nearby, they start to move apart for the first time in their lives. Udyan joins up with a group of Communist Party of India, Marxist-Leninist, radicals. The Communist Party of India, Marxist-Leninist, is a breakaway group of the Communist Party of India that has ties to the growing Naxalite movement. The Naxalite movement is a violent uprising that was started by poor sharecroppers in the village of Naxalbari in West Bengal. In spite of the violence and unrest, Udyan spends his days and nights working for the CPI-ML, while Subash chooses to go to America to get his PhD. Udyan asks Subash not to leave India, but Subash already feels too far away from his brother to get closer. In the United States, Subash goes to college in Rhode Island. He is one of the only Indian students there. He feels even more alone when he gets a letter from Udyan saying that he has chosen to marry Gauri for love instead of their parents' plan for a planned marriage. Subash was proud of himself for being brave enough to move to the United States, but now he feels defeated by Udyan all over again. Udyan writes Subash a lot of letters during his 2nd year of graduate school, asking when Subash is going to come home and let their parents set up a marriage for him. Most of the time, the letters don't talk about Naxalbari or any kind of extreme politics, and Subash is glad that his brother has stopped being so wild. Subash starts an affair with Holly, a young married white woman. Even though he knows the relationship can't last, he is devastated when Holly breaks it off. At the end of summer, Subash gets a letter from Calcutta telling him that Udyan has been killed and asking him to come home as soon as he can. When Subash goes back to Calcutta, he finds that the violence of the Naxalites has changed the city in every way. Subash understands that his brother never stopped being a radical and that the cops probably killed him because of it. Subash's parents are so upset about Udyan's death that they barely notice him and won't answer any of his questions about it. Gauri, who is pregnant with Udyan's child, is the only one who can give Subash the information he wants. Gauri is being kept away from the rest of the family by Subash's parents. This is partly because of rituals for grief and partly because they want to get her out of the house so they can raise Udyan's child alone. Gauri tells what happened the night Udyan died. When she and her mother-in-law got home from shopping for the holidays, the house was full of cops. Gauri and her in-laws were held at gunpoint by the police, and they were told to go to the flooded plain, where Udyan was hidden. After threatening to kill his family members to get him to come out, the cops put Udyan in a van and let the rest of the Mitras go. The family went back into the house and watched from the terrace as the cops shot and killed Udyan in the middle of the field on the other side of the valley. The cops took the body of Udyan and never gave it back. Subash can't sleep for days because he can't get over the details of his brother's death and the cruel way his parents treat Gauri. After a group of investigators come to the house to ask Gauri about the activities of the local CPI-ML, Subash decides that the only way to keep Gauri safe is to marry her himself and take her back to America. Gauri agrees unwillingly, but she tells Subash that Udyan would never have agreed to this. Gauri gets to Boston when she is 5 months pregnant. As she gets used to living with Subash, she fights with feeling alone and wanting to go back to school. She tears up her saris, cuts off her hair, and starts going to college theory classes. Gauri's feelings of being alone and out of place haven't gone away since their daughter Bella was born. She starts a sexual relationship with Subash, but even this release of stress doesn't make Gauri feel calm. Gauri takes a philosophy class, and she does so well in it that her teacher suggests she go on to get a PhD. Gauri's relationship with young Bella gets more and more tense as she puts more effort into her studies. When she is finally accepted into a graduate program in Boston, when Bella is in the first grade, Subash gets angry that Gauri wants to leave their house, their marriage, and now their child. When Subash's father dies, he takes Bella, who is now 12 years old, on a 6-week trip to Calcutta. Bijoli, Subash's mother, spends her days taking care of a cement post in the plain that marks the spot where Udyan died. Her mind is cloudy from old age. When Bella and Subash get back from their trip, they find that Gauri has left. She wrote Subash a note in Bengali to tell him that she is leaving Bella with him because she is going to teach in California. As Subash and Bella start to get used to life without Gauri, Bella becomes more distant and starts to lose weight. When a school counselor tells Subash that Bella isn't paying attention in class, he starts taking her to see a therapist. As time goes on and Bella moves up to the 8th grade, she starts to make friends and take part in school events. In the summer after Bella graduates from high school, Subash gets a letter telling him that his mother has had a stroke. He goes back to India without Bella, and Bijoli dies. After Subash goes back to Rhode Island, he takes Bella to college in the Midwest. As time goes on, she studies natural sciences, just like Subash did. Bella doesn't stay in one place after she graduates. Instead, she moves around the country and works on different farms. She only goes back home to visit a few times a year. Every time Subash sees Bella, he is surprised by how political and, in some ways, radical she has become. He fears that Udyan has brought Bella back from the dead. Gauri, on the other hand, lives alone and successfully on the West Coast. She has written 3 books and has been teaching at a Southern California university for a long time. She feels bad that she lied to Bella, but she is too happy to be free to think much about what she did to her family. Subash, who is now 60 years old, lives in the same way. At the funeral of a graduate school friend, he meets Elise Silva, a widow who used to teach Bella in high school and now runs the local history society. She starts going out with Subash. Bella is in her early 30s and lives with a group of artists, travelers, and rebels in Brooklyn. She knows that Gauri's leaving is a big reason why she moves around, but she doesn't seem to want to live any other way. In June, Bella goes to visit Rhode Island and tells everyone she is pregnant. She doesn't know the child's father and plans to raise the child on her own in Rhode Island, in the house where she grew up. Subash is finally moved to tell Bella the truth about where she came from. At first, Bella doesn't respond well, but after going to the coast to stay with a friend, she comes back home and tells Subash that even though she knows the truth, it doesn't change the fact that he is her only father. She says that now that she knows everything he has done for her, she loves him even more. Gauri reluctantly agrees to be interviewed by a former student for a book he is writing about the Naxalite movement. The conversation will take place in California. The interview brings back sad memories and makes her worry that she will be blamed for the movement because Udyan brought her into it in a small way. Gauri gets a letter from Subash one day asking her to sign some papers that will end their marriage. Gauri feels upset, so she thinks back to the early 1970s. Back then, she helped Udyan deliver letters for the CPI-ML. She also helped Udyan kill a well-known police officer by keeping track of the man's schedule and telling him when he was off duty and unarmed so that Udyan's group could kill him. Gauri still feels bad about the things she did. After getting Subash's letter and not being able to write a good reply, she chooses to stop in Providence on her way to a meeting in London to give Subash the papers and apologize for what she did. Bella opens the door when Gauri rings the doorbell of her old house. Gauri sits with Bella and her 4-year-old daughter Meghna while Subash isn't home. She tries to make small talk and find out about their lives. When Bella's mother shows up, she gets angry and won't answer any of her questions. She yells at Gauri for going, calling her nothing. Gauri decides to leave and fly to Calcutta instead of London because she wants to face her past. She goes to the plain, which has been filled in and built up. Where Udyan was killed, there are now condos. Gauri thinks about killing herself by jumping off the roof of her room in a nearby guest house, but she changes her mind and goes back to California. Now that Subash and Elise are married, they go to Ireland for their vacation. Subash is reminded of the plane when he goes to a group of stones in the country and sees that the water is rising all around them. The story jumps back to the night before Udyan died, showing his last moments from his own point of view. Udyan tries to hide from the cops in the flooded plane by swimming underwater, but he can't hold his breath long enough. In his last moments underwater, he worries that his hard work for the change hasn't helped anyone and has only caused violence and trouble. As the cops lead Udyan across the field beyond the plane, he knows he is going to die. He remembers that he had a date with Gauri one day in front of a movie theater. As the bullets from the cops rip through him, his final memories are of the sunshine on her hair.
About the author. Jhumpa Lahiri was born in London, but she grew up in the United States. Her parents were Indian immigrants from the state of West Bengal. Her father worked as a teacher at the University of Rhode Island. After studying creative writing, comparative literature, and Renaissance studies at Boston University, Jhumpa Lahiri published her first book of short stories, Interpreter of Maladies, which won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 2000. This was the start of a long and successful career as a writer. The Namesake, Lahiri's first book, came out in 2003 and was turned into a movie in 2007. Throughout her work, Lahiri has had many stories published in the well-known New Yorker magazine. In 2014, she was given the National Humanities Medal for her contributions to American literature. As of 2015, Jhumpa Lahiri mostly writes fiction and essays in Italian, a language she learned herself after she felt exiled from the English language.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.